inside the off stump. Oh, he's caught it! I don't believe it! Tom Kohler-Cadmore has caught the most magnificent catch. At short third man, it's the end of Daniel Sams, and Somerset have won the Vitality Blast 2023. They've bowled Essex out for 131.
Hello there, you're listening to Always Look on the Bright Side of Life. This is the Somerset Cricket Podcast. My name's Ian Shepherd, and joining me this evening, I've got the president of the club, Peter Wanless. Peter, you've been watching Somerset play Surrey over the last week to various degrees of success.
I have. I've done little else than watch Surrey against Somerset, if I'm honest.
Of course, Somerset's first professional women's game at Beckenham last Wednesday, and then something happened at the Oval over the weekend, which we'll probably chat about. We, of course, have the voice of cricket on BBC Radio Somerset, Anthony Gibson, who unfortunately wasn't at Beckenham, but was at the Oval for all what did it end up being? 2 days, 2 sessions, just about?
Yeah, just about. Finished at tea time on Sunday, and that was the only good thing about it, which meant I could get home on Sunday evening rather than on Monday. Not good.
What time did you get your first pint in at Eli's on Sunday night?
About 8 o'clock.
Oh, that's pretty good going.
Yeah.
And we have a special guest tonight. Given that Somerset are taking on Essex in both the men's and the women's competitions, the County Championship and the Women's Metro Bank One Day Cup as their next fixtures, who better than the unofficial mascot of Somerset County Cricket Club? We have given Don that name because it was, if you remember, a certain Somerset against Surrey Championship game last September. It was plodding along to a boring draw, and then all of a sudden toppers appeared, brought the luck with him for Somerset, and that famous collapse happened. Don, how are you doing?
Good evening, all. Delighted to be with you. I'm very well. I'm talking to you from the beautiful blue Suffolk skies. So it's great over here, and I think it's going to be a good 4 days for you guys down in Taunton.
Well, I think you're probably the only one of the four of us that is expected to. I mean, let's start with the Oval then. It went, well, Somerset batted first after being inserted by Rory Burns, making 283 all out. Tom Lammonby top score with 76. Lewis Gregory made 62. Josh Davey chipping in with 29 from number 10. Sean Dixon carried his bat for 2 not out. We all hoped it was going to be an omen when Somerset player suffering a painful injury came out to bat against Surrey to squeeze a few extra runs from the tail, but it was not to be. So Sean has got a fractured knuckle, I believe, and will be out for the foreseeable future. So 283 Somerset made. Jordan Clark picked up 5 for 68. And then Somerset's, they performed somewhat of a fight back in the second innings. Surrey made their way to 129 without loss before Rory Burns and Ollie Pope went in quick succession. 55 from Dan Lawrence, 58 from Jamie Smith, got them up to 367. So a manageable lead until, we had another Somerset batting collapse. This one, I think, is probably one of the worst I've ever seen, given that pretty much everybody involved with it gave their wicket away, and I don't think a single batter can look in the mirror and say they were definitely got out. Discuss.
Well, Josh Davey possibly, but
Josh Davey maybe, but yeah, I mean,
he got a good ball from Jordan Clark. Archie Vaughan was unlucky. Brilliant catch from Ben Folkes. One or two of the others, they seem to suffer from collective brain fade. I don't know whether the Archie Vaughan wicket sort of triggered a bout of fatalism, but as they walked out, it didn't look as if they were going to score any runs. In all honesty, it had an awful inevitability about it. That collapse from the moment that Tom Lammonby was out just before lunch, after he and Josh Davey had been going along so comfortably, and then it all just, my wife's word was, it disintegrated, and it did disintegrate. And I asked Jason Kerr how he could account for that collapse. And he said, I don't know. I said, well, is it mental or is it technique? And he said, I think it's mental. And I think it is mental. There's a serious lack of confidence in the top and middle order batting at the moment, which I don't think bodes at all well for the games coming up. And I'm sorry to have to say that, but they do need to. It seems a stupid thing to say, but almost to pull themselves together and just to come to appreciate what good players they fundamentally are, and get out there in the middle and show it.
Can I ask you, as two of you, and now Shep, I think you may have gone, but Peter and Anthony were there. I wasn't, but I followed it. Clearly I did. But what was the wicket like? I mean, you never get a bad oval wicket. Okay, it might have a bit of bounce, maybe occasionally a bit of pace. But what was the batting conditions for Somerset in both innings?
Good.
Yeah, I thought it was. I mean, it was lively, especially at one end. But Surrey bowled extremely well. I mean, they were relentless, and Worrell and Clark and who have I forgotten? Atkinson. I mean, super quick. We've got no one. All their bowling looked 10 mile an hour faster than ours. So
Really?
so there was that to cope with. But the first day was a fantastic day of cricket. Ebbed and flowed. We were competitive. Yes, we collapsed in the middle, but there was a great start. Okay, it took 3 batters for us to put on a decent opening partnership, but we did. There was a bit of fun at the end with Lewis Gregory and Dicko coming out with his hand all bandaged up. And then in the second day, Surrey, just look at their batting order, and it's just one after the other, test player, super quality, and we bowled with real spirit. Given that we're 10 mile an hour slower than them, I felt okay about it. In fact, I was looking at the scorecard from a year ago at the Oval, and we scored 285 last year. This year we scored 283. Surrey then scored 428. Well, this time they only scored 367. So it was set up for last year, ended up, a tight finish, and we couldn't quite get over the line, and they couldn't quite get over the line. So I was thinking, here they come. We'll score 350 in our second innings, and this is going to be a great 4 days of cricket. But no, I agree with Anthony. Never got going. It was super disappointing, and So now I too feel I don't like to criticize them, because they will be feeling it 10 times more than I'm feeling it, and hopefully that is the spur they need to get their heads down and bat really well at Taunton. Because remember, we've only played one home game so far, and we got maximum batting points on our own wicket, so we can talk ourselves into
it was
despair.
A pretty flat one though, Peter, wasn't it? As we came to find out, I mean, it was a wicket where the worst side in the division, Worcester, are kind of drifting off now. We're able to bat for 2 days. I mean, they did hang on by the skin of their teeth, but bat for 2 days they did do.
Is there something lingering about that game now? Because listen, you spent was it 200 overs in the field?
Yeah.
And not being funny.
Dead on.
Not being funny. I watched that one. I was on Essex versus Surrey for that game at Chelmsford, and I just remember watching that. And then of course there was not a chuckle, but we did say, batting on for Tom Banton, and we were watching it. We're thinking, I hope they don't get a draw, because they batted on and on and on. But 200 overs, you didn't bowl them out in 200 overs. That tells a story. And I just wonder if a few things are lingering on from that game. Also, I noticed Anthony said you're a bit light on confidence at the top of the order and the middle of the order. Well, that is more or less your batting order. So what's going on with the opening batting for me? For what would you say about your opening batting? Because there's one fella in the background. If you keep failing, then everyone says, what about Andy Umeed? But no one seems to trust him.
Well, I mean, go back to just what you're saying about the confidence. I mean, we do love an anti-Somerset ECB conspiracy here and always look on the bright side of life. And we have played we played 3 away games in a row now. And if you go away and you have 3 poor results, 2 losses and the draw at Hampshire, you have 1 bad result away. Normally you come back home, you're with your own crowd amongst your own people on your own pitch with your own peg in the dressing room, and you get a bit more confidence. You can sort of get everything back together and reorganize and go out there and perform well at home. And then you go back on the road, hopefully with a bit of renewed confidence. But we must have been up and down the A303 or the M4, 3 times in the last 3 weeks. And I think that must play a part as well. I know we've got, on the flip side, we do now have 2 home games in a row. But I think that must have played a part. I mean,
I don't hear Worcester complaining about an ECB theory from playing away games at Worcester
we're joking.
early in the season.
No, but I mean, it has to be taken with a pinch of salt. But I think you can kind of understand where I'm coming from as a former pro yourself. If you've had a bad result, you want to get back to Chelmsford, get with the supporters around you, rather than going away again and then again to the 3-time champions to just to cap it all off. I mean, Andy Umeed will come in now for Sean Dixon. There's no doubt about that. Obviously, Dixon has a bust finger, so he wouldn't have played anyway. Whether he would have kept his place after that 70 odd at the Oval, I don't know. At the Oval, at Hampshire. Will Smead made a red ball second 1100 today. That's his first red ball innings of note in the second 11, I think, since he made 100, age 16, and with Marcus Trescothick back whenever that was. So really, Lewis Goldsworthy hasn't scored a lot of runs. I mean, Thomas Roo's probably the only other one who's scored a lot of runs in the second 11. Would he push his brother out as keeper and James moves up to open alongside Archie Vaughan? Maybe, I don't know.
Well, I think that may come in time, but I think Umeed's done enough to earn the other opening spot. And there's been speculation that they might drop Archie Vaughan or move him down the order. I think that would be a mistake. I think he's shaped really nicely as an batsman. Well, and it's not easy. And you're up against some top class bowlers, particularly obviously at Surrey, and I think he's done pretty well, and I think we should stick with him and give Andy Umeed the chance to show that those batting performances at the tail end of last season were an aberration, and that he can actually, as he's demonstrated in the One Day Cup time after time, he's a very good player.
He is. Just go back to opening the batting and Archie Vaughan, Don. Your old mucker, one of the greatest to ever open the batting. I think it was Gucci that said, the difference between the great players and the very good players, it's not the shots you can play, it's the shots you don't play.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely.
Archie Vaughan has been very guilty of getting himself out. He's played a few, wayward pull shots. I mean, if you're being ultra critical, it was, he did offer a chance to Ben Folkes, who's the best keeper in the world, in the second innings. So I think Archie Vaughan just needs to learn a bit of discipline. He's definitely got the ability. Absolutely got the ability, no question about it.
He's probably one of those modern age players where he perhaps does play a few more shots than other lads from a previous generation. But opening the batting against Essex, and obviously just wearing my Essex hat for the moment, you've got Porter, Cook, Rajith. Let me tell you, do you remember Saj Mahmood of Lancashire, England, and indeed the last couple of years at Essex? Well, Saj Mahmood is identical in terms of slim, lithe, tall, and Rajith bowls just like Saj Mahmood, sideways on action, economic, hits the deck. Listen, he looks quite good. So you've got Porter, Cook, Rajith and Snater. And for me, Porter and Cook do bowl straighter. and they, as an opening batsman, they will challenge you because they don't give you many half volleys. They don't give you the odd drive ball because they're looking to swing it. But let me tell you, they are straighter and bowl more accurately than any other pair in county cricket. So, if you're going to open the bowling, you're going to have to be watchful, disciplined, resilient. You're going to play and miss a few times. It's a hard job. And I do think it's a hard job against those Essex too. And many have succumbed and failed.
Yeah, and they've both got very, very good records against Somerset as well, Porter and Cook.
Well, it's a fantastic game of cricket between two very similar sides. And, back in our day when we used to play Somerset, when it had the Botham, Garner, Viv, and Martin Crowe even. Look, it's a great, great game at a great, great ground that the players get inspired for. And, dare I say it, that the locals and your fans in the morning will welcome them. But mind you, the fans in the afternoon, if it's sunny and they've had the odd cider, well, we don't want any silly fun and games.
You won't get any silly fun and games. It's one of the best humoured crowds in the country at Somerset. And it's nothing like...
Tell me about Craig Overton and what happened there.
What? Replying to the biggest Twitter troll that pings Somerset County Cricket Club the most abusive and ridiculous messages over a sustained probably 2-year period.
I see our friend George Dobell chipped in on that.
Did he? I missed that.
He put up something saying, if in 45 years of following Somerset cricket, he'd never met anyone who cared and tried as hard as Craig Overton tries for us. And so for someone to question his commitment, they need to give their head a wobble. And so, I think we're
what they need to do, Mr. President, is
Craig said.
What they need to do, Mr. President, is I believe there was a piss off and support somebody else, which I think was rather actually quite diplomatic from old Craig.
I was quite disappointed because I think he has been more than a wonderful servant. He's a terrific cricketer, and I hope, I don't know, I hope the said fan had to apologise.
I wouldn't call him a fan, but absolutely no doubting what you're saying there, Toppers, and actually not only is his commitment and record first class, but he's even better when he's a little bit angry.
No, well said, Mr. President. I totally agree.
Definitely.
I would imagine he's available for selection on Friday.
Well, if he's fit, we're not sure. That's the trouble.
We don't know. We'll know tomorrow, according to Jason Kerr.
I mean, hindsight is a wonderful thing, but I did say I'm not a fan of this preemptive resting policy because, as it's now been borne out, you could have a perfectly fit Craig Overton who does have a back twinge in the warm up, and then you've wasted having a fully fit Craig Overton down at home. So I've said before, I've said my piece on it. I hate this preemptive resting. Play your best 11. Then next week, if one of them rocks up, need a rest, they need a rest.
Well, Chris Silverwood was politically and diplomatically very good. Reference Sam Cooke being asked to sit out a game, and he's not even an England player. He's not even paid by England or the ECB. Paid and simply contracted to Essex. So I think fair, and Chris Silverwood has obviously experienced England and in the other side of the fence. So I think he was terrific in allowing Sam Cooke the game off, and of course Porter stood up to the test, missing out with his mate, and Porter took a lot of wickets, so it was a good effort. But Worcester were struggling a bit, to be honest.
Why was he rested for that game then? Because you guys had a week off. You had a game off the last round
this week. Yeah, absolutely.
But why was he rested?
Okay. Diplomatically, I'm going to suggest that, like you were with your 200 overs against Worcestershire. You were probably not aware of this. Essex had 2 innings, asked Surrey to follow on. They spent 2.5 days in the field and then went up to Trent Bridge and opted to bowl and spent another day and a half. And they spent something like 340 overs on the trot in the field. And we all know, if you're an average team, you're batting all the time, often twice. If you're a good side, then you're in the field trying to get 20 wickets. Sometimes it's unfashionable these days to follow on, but the lack of time makes you follow them on. But they just were in the field for 340 overs. That's a hard task for Essex at that time with 3 seamers.
Yeah, and don't
Fair
forget
enough.
that the ECB made Hampshire rest Sonny Baker as well.
Well, and they had a
Sonny
week off
Baker's...
as well this week, which is
Sorry?
And that they're in the same situation as Essex. They had the last round off. It's just gone. So he's missed a game, and now he's got a week off doing nothing.
Yeah. I've got to ask the question, and you would have answered this, and you would have had many people ask you. Can I ask, if Sonny Baker's ceiling so high, why was he allowed to go? What did he want to go?
Yeah, it was
I
his
don't think
decision.
he wanted to go.
He was made an offer, and he decided it wasn't good enough. I think that's right, isn't it, Peter?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I'm not across all the detail, but I think based on what the 2 clubs offered, what he was being given at Hampshire was something that he couldn't refuse. So we would have had to have offered him something which then would have probably had. And I'm not on the inside track of this, but I assume that would probably have then had repercussions with everyone else's contract and all the rest of it. And it just became too difficult. I mean, we would have loved him, I'm sure, to have been part of our team this season if he'd chosen to stay with us.
Would he have got a game? Would he have got cricket? Or would he have been further down the pecking order?
Well, we never played him. So.
But that's because he was most of the time injured.
Yeah.
Not all the time. We probably could have snuck him into another couple of blast games, I reckon.
Well,
maybe the championship game.
He didn't make much of a case for himself in the One Day Cup when he was played. And then the injury.
He got 6 for against 5 or 6 wickets against Nottingham. Then he was injured, I think. So he's
injured. Yeah.
So I mean, he was worth a roll of the dice on.
But Somerset didn't let him go. Somerset wanted to keep him, and he got a better offer from Hampshire. And perfectly correctly, from his own point of view, he took the better offer.
Right. Do you think it was an opportunity to play more at Hampshire? That's why I asked you about, was he down the pecking order? Because not being funny, I, from afar, are looking at that and thinking Jamie Overton as well. Jamie Overton, when he left, he wasn't necessarily with the new ball or this or that, wanted to develop his batting. And I'm just wondering if I can see a similar, that he felt he was behind certain bowlers and therefore an attraction was to move. The money wasn't just everything. Honestly, when these moves are discussed, it's not just money normally.
No, Jamie didn't go to Surrey for the money. He went, as you rightly say, because he wanted to open the bowling, which he hasn't actually been doing at Surrey, but he also wanted to bat higher up. When he got his 100 at Edgbaston, I interviewed him afterwards, and he said he reckoned he should be batting number 6, or he could see himself batting number 6, which is not quite where he bats. Well, he's batted number 4 for Surrey in T20 cricket. So again, I mean, that was his decision, and he made it for cricketing reasons. And at the time, he wasn't as good a bowler, and you can look at his record for Somerset and see this, as his brother or as Lewis Gregory, and you can't keep everyone. Some of them have got to move on in order to progress their careers. Shoaib Bashir will be the next one for sure, and quite right too, that he should move on perhaps to Surrey and play first division cricket for a really top county and be in the first team all the time.
We are in a situation now, talking about these bowlers moving on, where we've got a gap between Casey Aldridge would be the oldest of what you would call the youngsters. And then we've got Ray 31, who I think would be the youngest of what you would call the oldies.
Yep.
So in there, I would like to have seen one bowler every 2 years. So we potentially have missed 2 bowlers coming into that squad. I'm making sense of what I'm saying here.
Yeah, what makes all of this even more ironic is that Jake Ball and Ben Green, both out on loan, took 5 wickets for other counties, albeit one in the second division. And it's a dilemma. It's whoever we don't play improves each time Somerset lose a game.
Yeah, I've just got my spreadsheet up, so I was right. So Aldridge, 24 years, 126 days, and then Overton, 31 years and 19 days. We turned 31 a little while ago. So we've got a 7-year gap where you think with your academy lads coming through, you'd want 1 or 2 bowlers to have come through in that gap, and that's probably the likes of maybe Nathan Gilchrist, maybe a couple of others. Yes, shall we talk about the Jake Ball loan?
I don't agree with 2 game loans. Sorry.
Well, I don't agree. This is absolutely. I mean, I put a quote on Twitter saying if Durham win and go above us, some awkward questions need to be asked. And lo and behold, Durham win, go above Somerset in the table. Jake Ball takes 7 wickets for a side that was 1 place below us in the table, and that's kind of kick-started their season, and they are now sort of mid-table and on a bit of a roll. I mean,
what does Mr. Gibson think of that?
Right. Jake Ball's 34 years old, okay? He is not the kind of bowler who needs to be put out on loan to get experience, to improve him as a cricketer. He's a former international. He's played God knows how many first-class games for Somerset and Nottinghamshire. If Jake Ball needs overs in the legs, there's a fucking second 11 game going on right now at Taunton Vale. The club season starts next weekend. If he didn't want to play in the second 11 game, I'm sure he could have gone back up to Mansfield, Nottingham Way, and found a friendly to play in on Saturday and a friendly to play in on Sunday. He could play club cricket. There's 1,000 better ways of getting some overs in Jake Ball's legs than loaning him to another Division 1 county. I mean, the batting collapse at the Oval, that happens. Batters can play bad shots. Coaches can have off days, but and not get the side potentially as ready as they do or whatever. That's fine. I understand that. But to sit down and analyse the pros and cons of loaning an international bowler on your books to another side in your division, I mean, it's just lunacy. It's bonkers. I do not understand how it's happened.
Tell us what you really think.
Well, I hope that I'm very, very fair when looking at performances that Somerset have made and whatnot. But when you look at this sort of decision, which, you have, Dan Worrell can get you with a snorter. Jordan Clark can all of a sudden go wide and angle one in. And like Tom Abel did, you leave a straight one. You got egg on your face, but it happens. But to sit there chatting, presumably Andy Hurry, maybe Jamie Cox, Jason Kerr as well. I don't know who would have been involved in the decision, but to go, should we loan Jake Ball to Durham? What could possibly go wrong? I mean, it just baffles me, absolutely baffles me, and I would recall him now because I don't agree with the loan system to a degree. It's definitely not within the same division.
No, I agree with that. Agree with that. Absolutely.
I mean, and it's just come
You
back.
should not. You should not be.
Stupid.
You should not be effectively playing against your county, which is what he was doing by playing for Durham. In the same division. Well, I didn't understand that at all.
It's embarrassing as well because people are looking at. Oh, look. They put Jake Ball on loan to Durham and he took 7 wickets, and now Durham are 5th or 6th or whatever, or 4th or whatever they are, and Somerset lost against Surrey. That's funny, isn't it? Hilarious.
I totally agree with you. Don't like it, but wasn't it one of your former cricketers played for 3 counties in about 3 weeks? Don
Was that Bessie?
Yeah, he played for Yorkshire. He played for, was it Nottinghamshire? I can't remember. He had 3, you guys, Nottinghamshire and Yorkshire in 3 weeks.
Yeah,
That's ludicrous. Well, that devalues the
It does.
greatest red ball
Mm.
championship that is in the world.
Yeah.
We're two game loans are poor. That's really poor from our cricketing governance.
I mean, we put Alfie Ogborn on loan and Ned Leonard on loan to Kent and Glamorgan respectively last September, which is going back to my original point of those being young developing cricketers who are going to benefit from playing rather than being sat getting splinters up their arse on the bench. Ned Leonard, as it turned out, preceded a transfer to Glamorgan. Alfie was just a loan. They both did all right. Both got experience, both bowling and being out of the comfort zone slightly in a different environment to the one that they're used to. But this Jake Ball loan, I just cannot get my head around it. I literally cannot work out where Somerset benefit from that. How do we benefit? I mean, presumably, 2 weeks off the wage bill, but
yeah. But if you look at it from the other side, the teams that they went to, Durham, have got 7 injured bowlers. Okay, one might be Mark Wood, one might be Cass, but to have 5 additional bowlers who are injured.
Do you know what I say?
Tells me something's wrong with the game, personally.
Well, it's professional sport. I mean, all sympathies, but it's professional sport. Tough. You'd have to get some of your academy lads in. You have to get some clubbies in. It's tough. It's professional sport.
Well said. Well said. Sorry. Yeah, I'm not in sympathy. Sorry.
Well, let's hope he saw how the Durham batters performed close up, and he can come back to Somerset and bowl them out 4 times. That's it. That's the only potential.
Upside
I can see trying
to
create
what
some
he should have
discussion
done is send his first ball down for 5 wide, claim he's done his hamstring and limp off, and then just sit watching Netflix for 4 days. That's what he should have done, not take 7 bloody wickets. 7 for 74 he got in a low scoring game when they beat Worcester. So there we are.
So what kind of a wicket are you expecting Friday? Good one?
Oh, good question.
Turn? You're not going to make it turn, are you?
Well, the last 2 times we played, they've been quite seam friendly. Porter and Cook took 5, was it about 130, played 130 first time round last season? Season before that, or was it the season before that? Craig got 17 wickets, or 8, or however many wickets it was, 13 odd wickets, and Essex won by 1 run, and there was a very contentious slip catch. It was deemed caught by Knight of the Realm, but there was some dispute about its legitimacy.
We had a disputed catch the other day.
Seems to be quite common with Essex, doesn't it?
Well, we like to play one hand, one bounce. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that.
All right, well, we like our
properly.
Well, as long as we like our pitches to turn down at Taunton, so why can't we do that and without being reported? I think after
that's all water under the bridge. I mean,
yeah,
I think,
let it go, Chet.
Let it go. I don't know. It's a very good question about the pitch, because if you produce a seaming pitch, Essex have got Porter and Cook. If you produce a spinning pitch, and Essex have got Simon Harmer, who's one of the best spinners in the country. But if it was me, I think I'd go for a spinning pitch.
So potentially just play on
because
the same pitch as Worcester.
Win the toss and bat then.
Yeah, win the toss and bat, and hope that Leach and Vaughan will, pull Essex out in the 4th innings.
Leach and Vaughan. Shoaib Bashir was doing 12ers up at the Oval because Glamorgan didn't have a game last week. I mean, I presume wasn't it originally a 3-game loan?
Yeah.
So there's every possibility, we could reuse the Worcester strip and play Leach and Bashir and Vaughan.
Well, I hope we don't reuse. I hope we don't reuse the Worcester strip.
Here's a scenario for you. Vaughan is given time in the 2s to work on his technique or whatever. He's rotated out because they never drop people. Umeed and possibly Goldsworthy roll the dice, maybe Will Smead, and then we slot Bashir in alongside Leach. That's one option, which, things haven't been working for the last 4 games, so something's got to change. So you got to change it.
Well, he was certainly doing a lot of work at the Oval with Steve Kirby was showing Bashir. So it wouldn't completely surprise me.
Does that weaken your batting?
Yes.
No, because it can't be weaker than it was in the last inning.
Yeah, I'm going to say sometimes you can have too many batters. Do you know what I mean? When you bat down to 8 or 9, you think, oh, the other bloke will do it. Sometimes when you've got a top 6 and that's it, or a top 7 and that's it, it focuses the mind, shall we say?
Nobody has a top 7 and that's it these days. They all bat down to
that's
9, 10 or 11.
Yeah.
Or we could have Josh Davey after his heroics at 3 at the Oval. Just one thing I want to talk about at the Oval is you had a chat with Lammers on after day 1, Gibbo, when he made 70 odd, and you sort of asked him about how he was batting, and I really, really, really wanted him to say, I am so pissed off that I didn't go on and make a big score because I've had a number of starts and I'm so annoyed that I haven't gone on, and I really hope the fans and the supporters.
He did say that.
He did, but he didn't quite say it like that. It was more of a, oh yeah, I've got in and I've got out, and not this is I am better than this. I need to make more runs. I need to go on and make big hundreds rather than average 40 by scoring 40 every week. I need to average 40 by scoring 120 and then a couple of low ones, because it's the 120s and the big scores that win you games, not kind of getting in and getting out. And it was a good little interview, and he kind of acknowledged the frustration, but it was I just wanted him, and I kind of want the other guys as well to say, I'm better than that, because it just brings that, by saying it in public, you kind of then you've got to go and back it up. If you keep saying, oh well, I keep getting starts, then the next week, oh well, I keep getting starts, and you play another bad shot and you get out. I just wanted to really kind of grab themselves by the scruff of the neck almost.
Well, he was
than the coach or somebody else doing it.
He was very upset when he got out in both innings. Because in both innings he was batting very nicely, particularly in the first innings. But
so first innings, Worrell just dragged him across his crease, bowling around the wicket. Then he went over the wicket. Fire went into his leg stump. It was pretty much a leg stump out volley, but Lammers, he just really kind of overbalanced.
Well, it was actually it hit middle of leg. That's how far across he went.
Yeah, and second innings, he probably went back to what he should have been forward to, and was LBW to Lawrence. But not just Stanby. When all the other guys are saying that, grab yourselves by the scruff of the neck, look in the mirror before you go to bat. You are better than this. You go out there and win the fucking game for your team. It's your job. Don't let the other buggers have a bat. Be you. Make yourself the star. Go out and win the game. And like I said before, don't play stupid shots.
You're pitching for Jason Kerr's job then?
I would not. I'll tell you what, you thought Craig Overton gets abuse on social media. Poor old Jason. I mean, he said it in his interview with you, but at the close of play, didn't he? When you coach, you don't get any of the credit, but when you lose, you get all the blame. And I
don't think that's true, actually.
I was just going to say, I like to think, we do give them credit when they make
I've
good
interviewed
decisions.
him many times when Somerset have won, and and he has been given plenty of credit. But I can understand he must be hurting at the moment, not just because of the results, but because of all the abuse that he does get, and which is, I'm afraid, a very unfortunate feature of modern life and social media and all the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
I like the spirit of your comments, though, Shep. I think that is what they need to hear. They are better than this. What was so disappointing about the Oval was, as I say, it was all set up after 2 days for a really good performance, and unfortunately these things. It was a really disappointing afternoon, but then these things kind of accumulate. But they are a group of talented batters. And yeah, I seriously, on Topper's question about does Bashir weaken the batting line, we have got plenty of people there. I mean, yes, the opening partnership is a problem, but you know, 4 to 8, I reckon, are as good as anywhere across the country when they well, they just are.
Yeah.
So we
They
yeah.
wake
So
up.
we they need to remember that and believe in themselves and have that kind of reinforced without being naive about it. The trouble is there's no point in joining conversations which say that sort of thing on social media, because everyone thinks, oh, you know, you're just apologising for people who haven't shown up and bring in the next person. And as I say, whoever's not playing is always the best person for that week. And clearly, it's all to do with selection.
As an old cricketer, Essex back in the day when we were good used to have shocking days at the office, and cricket does lend itself easily to that kind of a game. And yeah, okay, you're really disappointed, and it happens. Cricket it happens like that. And not being funny, Surrey probably haven't hit their strides till the other day. And you know, when I watched Surrey in the first game of the season, they were not just ring rusty, they were a bit off the mark. Well, they've got some quality, and we know, everyone knows their quality. But cricket does throw up bad days at the office. Can you remember Essex being bowled out for 14 by Surrey in the 80s? You know, what do you do there? Do you go and into a, you know, do you slit your wrist that day? No, not at all. You get back on the horse, and I expect Friday Somerset will be fighting hard because they're playing Essex. Exactly what I said earlier. And I would expect everyone to be getting stuck in, and I don't expect to have see Somerset have another bad day at the office. They'll have a fighting day because they're playing Essex, and Essex will do the same, and it will ebb and flow. It's all to do. That's why I said about the wicket. You know, do you win the toss and bat? I do believe that the weather's pretty good, so you could have 4 proper days of hard cricket. That's what I would expect.
Yep.
So nobody's died would be my comment to the parish of Somerset.
No, but trouble is, when you're a Somerset fan, it always seems like it's death by 1,000 cuts. It's another one, and then it's another one, and then it's another one. And then all of a sudden, you're 90, we haven't won the county championship, and they're sticking you in a wooden box. Shall we, on that slightly morbid note, shall we move on to, well, let's have a look at, right, what's our side's going to be for Friday then? I'm inclined just to bring in Andy Umeed for the injured Sean Dixon. I am again imploring Lewis Gregory to bat himself above Casey Aldridge at 7. That for me just does not seem to be working. Overton coming in for Davey if he's fit, and then Pretorius and Leach. So Umeed 4, Lammerby, Abel, Banton, Rue, Gregory at 7, Aldridge at 8, Overton 9, Pretorius, Leach, and then if we are playing on the Worcester deck, using that again, Bashir would probably for me come in for
Aldridge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'd hope to God we're not playing on that wretched pitch that we played Worcester on. It should be dug up and thrown away.
Hopefully, it'll be a 5th day pitch, so hopefully Nick Pepper's just not touched it since.
We could have bowled another 100 overs at Worcester and still wouldn't have got them all out on that pitch. It was a pitch that James Rue said to me when I congratulated him on his 150. He said, "Well, it was a very difficult pitch actually to get out on." So you know that's how bad it was. So for God's sake, not on that. But if it is a turning pitch, I'd have Bashir in for Aldridge, and Umeed for Dixon, obviously, and Craig Overton, fingers crossed, coming back in place of Josh Davey. If Overton's not fit, well, they'll have to bring Jake Ball back from Durham. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Alfie Ogborn.
Do you think he's ready?
I don't know. Is if we couldn't bring Jake Ball back from Durham, then
Well, he wasn't playing in the second 11 game this week, which leads me to believe he's probably going to be in the squad
Yeah.
because he didn't play. He didn't play at the Oval. He was subbing for quite a
no.
while. Unless they established what side it was going to be, because the set 11 game started on Monday, which is when the championship game should have been going into its fourth day, which it did not. So who knows? But they will do what they will do. Anything more? Right, should we go on to slightly more upbeat? And Somerset Women gave Surrey a bloody nose when they snatched victory from the jaws of defeat up at Beckenham. You were there, Mr. President. Talk us through what was a quite cold and windy and rainy day.
It ended up being an extremely memorable day, to the point where I have donated my handwritten scorecard to the Somerset Cricket Museum as a souvenir of this remarkable occasion at Beckenham. So it was Surrey against Somerset in Kent, which was a bit bizarre. We won't name any names, but some people went to the Beckenham cricket ground, not the Kent cricket ground in Beckenham. So the crowd was even smaller for the first part of the game, as they were all redirected back to where they should have been. It was really cold. It was miserly for about 2.5 hours, and I was questioning my life choices for some time, especially when the catering appeared, and I got my cold, lumpy mashed potato and rock hard sausages for £6. But then the sun came out, the clouds lifted. Somerset were sort of smacked all over the place, really, and Surrey made 243, which looked more than enough. And we bowled 22 wides, which wasn't great. But then the batting was great. Heather Knight sort of led from the front. Everyone played really well. It never looked really like we were going to win. We needed 31 off the last 10 balls, and then nudged the ball through point for 4, I think 3 or 4 times in a row, at which point they realised they probably ought to put a fielder there, by which time it was too late and we'd won.
Yeah, I was watching the stream. I was waiting to pick my little girl up from street dance class. I was going to stood out there outside the gym next to the race course in Newton Abbot, sort of watching this. My phone going, was that a replay, or is that a replay of a replay? Because they were virtually identical, wasn't it? It was amazing.
They were. Did you hear us screaming? Because Dan Norcross was doing the sort of live commentary. He didn't have anything like a sort of commentary box. He was on the same balcony as us. So no pretenses there. It was it made Gibbo's old kind of commentary hut look like a luxury facility.
But yeah, just absolutely incredible. And then I went to the second game, the first game at Taunton, playing Lancashire. I'm not sure if they're Lancashire Lightning or not, but certainly they are wearing the red rose with pride. Somerset got off to a bit of a shaky start after being asked to bat first. Lost Heather Knight early to a current still England colleague, Kate Cross, and then they just couldn't really get it away during the power play. I think they need to be just a little bit braver and try and hit over the top. They just kept picking fielders and couldn't find the gaps. Emma Corney batted a long time for her 27. I think she got a bit frustrated and tried to run a single to mid-off that wasn't there. Alex Griffiths and the aforementioned Amanda Jade Wellington got Somerset up to played a part in getting Somerset up to a competitive total, and there was a last wicket partnership as well, where they get about 205 in the end, but never really got the early wickets they needed. Lancashire winning fairly easily in the end. So played 2, 1-1, lost 1. And they, of course, take on Essex at Taunton Vale, not on Wednesday, not tomorrow, if you are looking at your Somerset County Cricket Club official calendar, as I am, that game is now on Thursday, the 1st of May, but it is still at Taunton Vale, which is the prelude to the big one. Essex taking on Somerset at the Cooper Sotis County Ground in Division 1 of the County Championship on Friday, which is, of course, a must-win game. Then we can all agree that, or definitely a must-not-lose, or must get a lot of draw points. Shall we quickly dive into a couple of listeners' questions? We might have to filter these. I'll just make the point. Jerry makes the point. Interesting that Gareth Roderick is currently playing for Worcester seconds. No sign of any Somerset first-team players turning out for our seconds. Maybe they could do some game time. If you were coach,
they've had plenty of game time. That's the last thing they need.
Well, do they need a bit of match practice? Would you potentially have picked a few of them? Well, it's difficult to single anybody out, really, isn't it? That kind of needs it. Nobody's playing poorly in the sense that, well, maybe Dixon, but he was injured. Nobody's not scored any runs. Nobody's desperate for time in the middle. They've just all played sort of really bad shots every now and again. Jamie Jewell, who's now an expat in Bermuda. Hope that's all going well for you, mate. With Sean Dixon likely to miss Friday's fixture versus Essex, says Archie Vaughan struggling to find form at the top of the order. Who would be your choice to partner with Andy Mead? Well, I'm sticking with Vaughan for the time being.
So am I, but be interesting to see Will Smead being given a go.
It would be. Well, we got 100 today. It didn't look like the most threatening of bowling attacks, but you still got to get them. Freddie Marsden, toppers. Did you see the tweet with our young Harrow fast bowler, JT Langridge, 6'7", bowling a spearing in-swinging Yorker to dismiss one of the Saka batsmen? You were tagged in a tweet on that. Sean reckons he's got a touch of the Marco Janssens about him. He could as well be another wild card at some stage.
Where's he from?
He is local. He's pretty sure he's
from Plymouth. He's from Plymouth.
Oh, Plymouth, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, he's a Devonian. He's one of us.
Yeah.
And you say, how old would he be today?
He is
19 or 20.
He
20,
is.
Yeah, 19.
19 years, 177 days.
That's great to hear and see. And tell me, I presume he swings it.
He does. Yeah.
Yeah,
quite
it's
right.
essential.
Yeah.
Essential. That's fantastic. But don't ask him to become a full-time cricketer too early, because it's hard work as a youngster in the professional environment. You know, these days you're not a proper bowler till you've had a couple of stress fractures.
Well, he was knocking about. He is officially on the staff this year, so he has played in all the second 11 games, and you know, I wouldn't be surprised if
he played a couple of one-day cup games and got smashed.
Yeah, that was
he
was 2022 he played, and then he was sort of wasn't included in it. I don't think he was contracted in 2022. He was just kind of one of those academy lads who was brought in 22. Didn't play in, or was that 23? No, in 23. Didn't play in 24. He's back. He's back this year.
I'll watch with interest. How he gets on.
Have a look at your Twitter notifications.
A bit of mentoring from Topley Junior wouldn't go amiss, would it?
Well,
yeah, I'd say he reminds me. Yeah, tall, left armour, swings it.
Yeah. Hey, he's in India and he can't get a game.
He'd come play for us. Can he be loaned to Somerset for a game? That's how it works, isn't it? You just loan players wherever you like these days.
Hey, we can strike a deal if the price is right. Only joking, Reece. Don't worry.
Well, I tell you what, I shall send over Jamie.
What time is it in India? What time does this go out? What time will it be in India?
Oh, this will be going out as soon as I press stop and top and tail it. So don't
worry about that. It'll be a middle of the night for him. He won't be listening to his dad. That's fine.
Oh, great stuff. Right, Bob Depledge says, much excitement about the progress of Thomas Rue. What do you think about him captain in the seconds? I've got no problem with it. It's not exactly having the nuclear war codes at your fingertips, captain in the second team. It's a fairly relaxed environment. There's no real consequences if you lose. They're all basically organised friendlies these days. I'm all for it. Absolutely, can't see a drawback to it at all.
Well, just as long as he doesn't get a bit too ahead of himself. That's all.
Andy Cleaver sent about 5 tweets in. Right, can you see Ben Green or Jake Ball being recalled out of Friday? They might have a think about Jake Ball, but Ben Green taking Michelle's for Leicester in Division 2 isn't really going to cause us any harm. Makes the point about the bowling attack is not got the prospects coming through as we did earlier. And have the Somerset coaches or taken their eye off the board in terms of evolving the squad? Has there been more of a focus on the women's team and becoming a 100 host? Should there be an equal focus on all aspects of Somerset cricket? Well, no, I think the men's and women's are pretty much siloed.
Absolutely, yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Andy Hurry is director of cricket for both. That's ringing me. Director of cricket for both, but I don't think there's any crossover between they're very much independent. I don't think there's any crossover there. I think they both operate independently, and you're not robbing one to pay for the other. Okay, there's been a little bit of compromise with reorganisation of the space in the Andy Caddick Pavilion, but it's not, there's not 20 of them in the half the space that they were. It's
all to the benefit of the home side.
Yeah, exactly. The women have now got the away dressing room, and yes, Don, you might want to warn your Essex fans that they're now getting changed in the bowels of the indoor school. And they've got a little bit of a trek to get through. It's still perfectly hospitable, and they'll still have balcony view, and they'll just have to walk a little bit further.
It's interesting, as you guys know, at Chelmsford, it's not pretty either, because the visitors are in a marquee. The Essex team have taken over both changing rooms, and I'm afraid I'm still rather embarrassed with what happens at Chelmsford, but we are where we are. It's interesting with the girls. We had an over-subscribed season with just men's cricket. Now, with the ladies playing, I do believe it's not just dressing rooms, but facilities pre-season was how can I say diplomatically, the groundsmen are under extreme pressure because it's been overused more and more now with women this year, and pre-season was difficult even at some international grounds. It was. And that's something that needs to be thought about going forward. The consequence, the squares are going to be shattered. We're going to see many tired squares early doors.
Very
it's
true.
a worry.
Can't disagree with that.
You're going to see big county games being played with 50-yard boundaries as well. Up at Edgbaston being the classic example. It's and you can't. It's not the groundsman's fault. It's just there's too much pressure on the square.
Correct.
Well, on the flip side, the more old and raggy our wickets are, the better.
Yeah.
But listen, what we've got to say, and just bearing in mind I've just raised this, what we've got to say, it's great to see women playing it and properly.
Yeah.
So that's great news, but there is a consequence.
I mean, the crowd at Taunton was fantastic on Sunday. There was, I sort of read the kind of, the info email that you get when you download your tickets, telling you all about the game, and I was kind of a little bit worried because they said only the Trescothick lower and the family stands are going to be open. I was like, oh god, there's going to be no atmosphere. Everybody kind of cramped in, but no, the whole ground was open apart from the Somerset stand, as it usually is. County room was open, all of Trescothick was open. It was great, fantastic atmosphere, loads of people there, really good crowd. And,
I mean,
hopefully
a shout out to the club for organising and marketing all of that, actually, because it wasn't like that at Beckenham. Surrey, biggest, richest county, they didn't really make an occasion of that first game. Weather didn't help. I'm sure a few more people would have come along if the weather was a little bit better, but we really made an effort, and it's a pity about the result, but it's great to hear that it sounded like a proper occasion for
it was. Yeah, it
team.
was. If you'd have gone there at lunch with the amount of people there, or during the innings break, you would have. It was just like a men's county game, like a championship game. There was a similar number of people there, so it was fantastic. Yeah, I mean there was a day's break between Beckenham and the championship game starting, so they potentially could have had it at the Oval, but obviously logistics presumably prevented that, which is a bit of a shame, but hey-ho. And I think, we've just ticked over onto an hour. Right, should we chat about the 100 for 3 hours, Don? Or
No,
Okay,
I'm going to have
fantastic.
supper.
Listen, hang
Right.
on. Jamie Cox, all I read in the early part of the season was Jamie Cox was preparing for Somerset to enter
Hold
the
on a minute.
100.
I've got the exact quote. Hold on a minute. I'm just going to go inside the house and get it. Hold on.
You obviously knew I would mention it. But yeah, it's interesting.
You've got to be in it to win it.
Talk amongst yourselves a minute. Just grabbing this week's cricket paper.
This week's cricket paper. What? So Jamie Cox. What do you think? Do you think he's very enthusiastic? Gibbo, are you not enthusiastic?
No.
Right.
But your officers and the club want to enter the 100. I mean, I'm tempted to say no new teams for
Well,
a good number of years.
I can quite understand why Jamie Cox wants Somerset to be in the 100. I think it's a very long shot, because if there is a Southwest franchise, it's almost certainly going to be based in Bristol, because the ECB want to spread cricket to new, predominantly urban audiences.
Right,
And
I have the quote.
with the best will in the world, is not a major urban centre, whereas Bristol certainly is.
I have the quote. Looking to the future, any expansion of the 100, potentially from 2029, is something the club is preparing for should the occasion arise. The language we use is about being 100 ready, says Cox, about getting ourselves ready for that moment and then being able to assess at the time and saying, is this right for us? Instincts are it might be something you want to be a part of, and therefore we've got to prepare, but not blindly, not foregoing who we are, chasing an opportunity that may or may not come.
But well said, I would have thought.
Yeah. It's the pragmatic view.
Even though you don't like it, Anthony.
Well, whether I like it or not, it's neither here nor there. It exists, you know.
Yeah, I mean, the other thing we don't like 12 of our players being scattered all across the country, playing for meaningless teams which we have no affinity to whatsoever. Yeah. So if the choice is that, or having a kind of focal point where a critical mass of them might be representing our region, playing really competitive cricket in the height of summer, then that is something to be to stick your head in the sand and say, well, we just want nothing to do with that. I think that would be a mistake too. So in that sense, I am interested in it, but you're pushing it to say that we're enthusiastic about it, because it's like that, Fred, wouldn't start from here, would we?
No. I mean, Jamie Cox and his predecessors were very enthusiastic towards being in it. Not being funny, we can't not mention that the 100 sales has brought in, or will bring in, because it's not available yet. But the 100 sales is going to bring in some significant money towards Somerset County Cricket Club. Their fellas, their women, the ground, the members will benefit. Look, like it or loathe it, the fact remains that Somerset and Essex will do well out of this money.
Yeah, perfectly true.
Yep, but you can only sell the family silver once.
The money won't last forever.
Yeah,
the money won't last forever.
Absolutely right. But can any of us, even as young as you, Shep, Anthony and myself, are towards the twilights, may I say?
Speak for yourself.
May I suggest that none of us know what cricket's vista will look alike in 15 years or 20 years. I mean, we really don't. We hope and pray that there will be Test cricket about, and I think there will be. It may change. It may change from all the nations that currently play it, but nobody knows what the vista will look like. I mean, look, we really don't. Red ball as well, not just Test cricket, red ball as well. And we shall see. And I think the game is fast changing, sometimes not always for the better, but we have to embrace it, because we do need the youngsters, the next generation, to make sure they're playing the game. Because without the youngsters, us 3, 4 will not have a game to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there's
Oh
a
dear, we agree.
certain Indian
Well,
youngster who's looks a pretty useful player, isn't there?
yeah, he's 14. That's quite the achievement for a 14-year-old.
I watched it this afternoon just to see, and my God, I mean, he's a pretty strong 14-year-old. That's all
Yes,
you can
pretty
say.
strong for a 14-year-old, isn't he? Hits the
He,
ball a long way for a 14-year-old, doesn't he?
Yeah,
he
yeah.
Anyway,
does. Yeah, no, yeah. He got sold for an interesting amount of money in the auction, and of course, not being funny. This is the amazing thing is Rajasthan Royals haven't had a very good IPL, so he got an early introduction, and has rewarded them, hasn't he? Gosh, he's already organised his parents' pension funds, hasn't he? God, eh? Unbelievable. 14 years old.
I know.
can we get him
Oh
on
well.
loan? Can we?
Yeah, get him on loan, from the Rajasthan Royals.
Yeah, we'll. I don't.
Right,
I
Supper
would.
Beckons. I'm going to love
Yeah,
you and leave you.
absolutely. Yeah. You were mentioning about maybe not having a game to watch in a few years' time, but we have definitely got one to watch on Friday. I'm going to be there for Friday. Don't think I'm going to make it for any of the other days. So if you are there, I will see you there. Peter, have you not got a high-paying gig out in
Yeah.
Abu Dhabi this week, or are you going to be there all 4
No,
days?
I'll be there. I'll be there.
Absolutely.
Looking forward
Great.
to it.
Look forward to a catch-up
Just
then.
shame. It's such a shame that Toppers Senior isn't going to be there, though.
Oh, I
Yeah,
know.
yes.
I will
Devastated.
be watching. I will be listening. Anthony, please don't throw me under the bus. And I really wish I was there. I shall be there in spirit at every wicket and every run Essex score.
Wonderful. Well, I think are you worried about coming along again and inspiring a Somerset bowling performance like you did last time Poppers is at it? You're just worried that
Well,
you're
it seems to be
worried that you'll bring the good luck again?
I either inspire them or I do witness the odd effigy being burned uh, as I walk in the gate.
Now, we've told our president to stop doing that, so you won't have to
No.
worry about that this time round.
Listen, I wish you all the very best. I hope Anthony has a cracking game. I wish everyone down there all the best. And let's have 4 days, high intensity, hard cricket. That's all we wish.
Absolutely.
May the best team win.
Yeah, we just want to make the game last 4 days to start with. Toppers, it's been great to have you on. Gibbo's had enough. He's gone off and have his tea. Thanks, Toppers. Thanks, Peter. We'll catch up. Well, I think we'll reconvene about this time next week, hopefully toasting Somerset's first victory of the season. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch up with you next week. Cheerio.